Alrighty, check, radio check. We are at the magic hour. It's 4:30 Apple time. I like to start on time. I want to thank everybody that's taking time out of your days to join us on this call. Thank you. We appreciate your support, and we're excited about a this topic, and b we've been brainstorming as to how we're going to do these calls coming up in the future. So we're continuing to try and provide value as things in the financial industry change, or ideas, concepts, strategies are promoted. We will continue to try and share those with you as we become familiar and have a chance to vet. Which brings me to the topic of today, right? So buffered ETFs, the reason that I was introduced to these about 2 or 3 years ago. I was at an event, and there was a vendor with a table, and went by, and there's obviously you look at it, and I did call him and looked at it, and it just wasn't the time for me to start to really promote this to some of my clients and to the community. So, but about a month ago, I was invited to a local dinner here in New Jersey. So, I went over there, and they had three or four of their regional guys there. And as they explained it, more and more it made sense. So that allowed me to go back and do a deeper dive. And that's what I'm going to take you through today. They covered more content than I'm going to show you today. I want to stay laser focused just on the ETFs, but there are some other items that they could offer. But ETF stands for exchange traded funds. And this is really like the S&P, that's an index. And so when we talk about exchange traded funds that try to, capture an index, the S&P isn't actually a thing. It's sort of, a conglomerate of stocks. And then, to mirror that, they created an index. And then within that index, it's going to perform, and that is a benchmark. And S&P, because most people are familiar with it, that's one of the ones that they use. They do also have the triple Qs. The triple Qs are sort of in a line with technology in the NASDAQ. So again, I'm a little ahead of myself, and I just wanted to share with you why I am bringing this up, and then tell you, I think I've had this week 3 or 4 phone calls with different clients. And after I've presented the information to them, and based on, some of the economic signals that we're seeing, I think this is a way to something to consider, right? As part of the portfolio, right? So without further ado, what is a target outcome buffer ETF, right? That's a mouthful. So as I go through this, right, target outcomes are actively managed ETFs that seek to provide targeted exposure to underlying ETFs, the S&P, like I mentioned, that are based on market indexes, while providing predetermined investment outcomes, removing some of the uncertainty associated with investing. So when we talk about averages, that's what we're trying to do, is hit these target numbers and have a high degree of predictability to do so. And then these outcome buffered ETFs are designed to help equity investors maintain a level of protection in down markets by providing a defined downside buffer. That's the key language right there. So if going into it, so in the insurance world, these have been around for decades. They're called fixed income annuities. And typically the adage was, hey, zero is your hero, zero is the floor. And then the trade-off is you get a cap, right, of some upside potential. Well, this is Wall Street's answer, and they're using options to put guardrails into both a downside, and then depending on the market and the option budget, will give them, hey, what the upside is. So that's the high level explanation of what we're trying to achieve here. And then, so we're going to minimize loss with downside buffers, right? So if we have without a buffer, then a 10% buffer, 15% or 25%. So what this graph is saying is losses can have a greater impact on investments than gains because the money left after the loss must work harder to get back to the original level. The math of percentages shows that as losses get larger, the return necessary to recover to the break-even point increases at a much faster rate. So a loss of 10% needs 11% gain to recover. You increase that loss to 25%, you need a 33% just to get back to even. A 50% loss requires 100% gain to get back to where the investment may have started. So, this became evident to me in 2006, 2007, 2008, when I started to see the markets go up, then drop off. And, looking at the indexes, we had 38 to 40% losses. People, the housing bubble burst, people lost significant sums in their retirement accounts. And then, and this is really what helped me to sort of have this aha moment when I had a client walk into my office in 2010 and he goes, "Hey, look, I got $1 million in my IRA." I was like, "Congratulations." He goes, "Yeah, but I just got back to even." And that was from 2000, 2001 when the internet bubble burst happened. So 10 years just to get back to even, and that was inclusive of that 2008 time period. So as I've started to go through my career and I see this, and this is why I'm so cautious with over exposure to equities and markets, right? But we do know over time that equities will outperform, and having some type of downside protection, in my professional opinion, is just prudent. So really, that's why, again, I've started to take a harder look at some of the strategies with First Trust. And basically, they're going to give us market exposure. They're going to give us a target outcome period. In our case, everything that we're going to do is 1 year, potential upside participation, and then downside buffers, 10, 15, 25, and 15%. And this was the thing, again, at the dinner venue, they showed the amount of money that has started to move into these funds. And they went in 2019 when they were first introduced, and then 2020, and then 2021. I mean, leaps and bounds how even in down markets, money was starting to come into this arena. And then as the market started to recover, they've actually doubled in revenue or valuation. So it's pretty exciting to see. And that's why I said, it's probably wise of me to present this to the public and to share with my clients as an option, right? So basically, these are 4 examples. The left one, all the way to the left, it's just showing, so you got this dotted green line, which is the performance caps, is maximum growth, and then you have that downside limit. So whether that be a 10% buffer or a 15% buffer or a 25% buffer. Now, I will say that 25% buffer does need explaining. I'll get into that in a second. But you'll see here that the market, which is this dark blue all the way to the left, is below that dotted line. So what that means is that's why a portion of the loss is now, once you breach that, is now experienced by the account holder. So there is some potential for loss, but let me put this in quantitative terms. Let's say that you had a 10% buffer and the market was down 15, you would still get a 5% loss, but 10% of that loss you did not experience. Now, if the buffer only went down to the 10 or to the 15, notice that the account holder in this example, the second one from the left, is now no losses. Now on the middle of the page, but second from the right, both upsides, anything in between the range and the caps, right? So let's say it was a 15% cap and this performed 7, that the 7% would get credited. And then anything above, that's the trade-off. So if let's say we had a 15% cap and the market went up 20, you would get 15, and the S&P or the index might have gotten 20. So that's how they work. And then the way that they're able to do that is with options. Now, if you have a cell phone and you want to start to look at this yourself, I'm going to ask you to scan this QR code. This will bring you right to First Trust portfolios. And then Caitlin is also going to drop into the link a sort of flyer that I've printed off, and we have a PDF. So we're going to drop that in so you have it. But they're sort of old school. When I went in, days of getting material for clients and client facing pieces that are all consumer approved. They sent me a dozen of them. So if you want one of these hard copies, you don't have a phone, don't have technology, and you want me to mail it to you, please just send me a text, an email, and we will make sure that you get one. But again, the buffer types, 10, 15, 15, and and I'm not going to get into every one, but I do want to talk about the 25%. So that sounds okay. 25%, I would really like to protect 25%. The way that one works is it's actually a 30% buffer, meaning that the first 5% you will eat. So if the market breaches zero and you do have a -2, you'll experience -2. But if the market goes down 25, you will get a 5% loss and they will eat 20. If it goes down to -30, you get a 5% loss and they will eat 25%. So it is, this is for that extreme occasion, but like I said, their most common buffer strategy is the 15%. And like I said, I've just started to put clients into it, and I'll show you what I've done because, after you get through the mechanics, and again, I'm not going to take you through a lesson on call options and put options. Just understand that this is not magic. All they're doing is they're buying a call option, right? 12-month expiration on the index. Simultaneously, they're going to buy a put. Then they're going to write a put. That's just technical terms, basically saying, hey, they're buying it to protect their downside, and they're writing it, which is collecting premium, and then that allows them to write an upside cap, which says, hey, listen, that if it does go to X, right, 15%, maybe the net overall performance might be a 13.71% cap. We'll see this here in a second. So target outcome buffer ETFs, basically we get upside caps, downside buffers. We get downside after the buffer. That means the investor participates in losses. So this doesn't mean that you can't lose, right? It's not like an annuity where you have zero market exposure. We're still in the market here, but they're using options to be able to create these safety nets. And then a target outcome period, like I said, 1 year. So this is their most latest. This actually just came out. The gentleman sent it to me on Tuesday. This is the July GJUL. Now, G is a 15% downside buffer, right? So if you wanted to go in, you're looking at that screenshot, that QR code I sent you. The G's are 15. The F's are 10%. Then the last 3 letters are the month that we're buying. And these auto renew. And, depending on whether it's qualified, non-qualified, there's really no taxable event. They can just roll over. Not like the structured notes. The structured notes, I just had notes called just today, right? So they're a little different because the notes are designed to create income, and they do have products within First Trust. But for purposes of this call, really the goal is to be able to have participation in the equities, to have upside potential, and to limit downside should the market go south. And then also liquidity. These things, trade. So there's a net asset value every day, right? So it just, to me, you'll see the upside cap here that was negotiated was 13.17, and it's 1 year. So it's got a downside buffer of 15%. And then net of their fees, 12.33, right? So it's just saying that, hey, listen, it's just another strategy that you can look at. But the ones that I've been taking a hard look at, see this symbol in the middle of the page called BUFR? So the BUFR basically, and for my clients that have participated in structured notes, every month we're going in, we're negotiating, we're saying, hey, listen, a note got called, reinvest, how much do we put? So being in all the time is very hands-on. So what they've created is a laddered ETF. So basically they're taking all 12 months and they turn around and they say, hey, BUFR is a 10% buffer all 12 months. So if somebody were to put in 100 grand, right, the 8,300 each, $8,333, so that every month, so that the whole 100,000 will get an equal participation in every one of these months with that buffer. And then, so let's say that you turn around and right now, 8,333 of the 100 grand got put into the August buffer coming up in about a month. Well, you would not recognize the full gain of that. It would be prorated, or you would get 1/12 of that revenue if it was within that range. So that, and then it's, similar between all of it. So it's a great way to put guardrails on your overall holdings or accounts or money that you're saying, hey, listen, I'm uncertain about the market. There's so much chaos, right? I'm absolutely sickened to see that the American flag was burnt out in front of Congress yesterday. Absolutely, like I can't believe people weren't arrested, right? So there's one thing to protest peacefully; it's another to deface America. So if I had been there, I might have been on TV. But with that said, there's a lot of uncertainty. And, with uncertainty, markets can have moments of volatility and sort of fluctuations. So this could be a way to sort of help you to sleep at night. And then, like I said, the BUFR, which has a 10% buffer, what I've been having clients enter into is the BUFZ, as in zebra. That's the 15% down. So it's just, again, another way to sort of put into your portfolio a degree of risk management that might otherwise people may not have. So if this is something that you say, hey, that intrigues me, I'm interested, reach out to our office. We're happy to do that. Lastly, I just want to talk about this Saturday. So 2 days from now, we're doing our next Social Security claimant strategies, maximizing Social Security. We only can seat about 60 people there, and we're almost full. If you know anybody that would like to attend, please send them our contact information. We'll make sure that there's room available. And for 90 minutes on a Saturday to learn about Social Security, you got to get this right. So it is something that we're passionate about, to make sure that we understand full, all sides of it, so that you don't make mistakes in the claiming. So, folks, that's our topic this week. See you next week. I think I gave Caitlin a topic for next week, but I don't remember it off the top of my head, so we'll circle back. These are all the disclosures that, directly from compliance at First Trust, that I have to share and show. So, if you want to just write quickly, you can actually this will be recorded and posted. You can go back and read it. And then we have the Brookstone disclosures as well. So I actually have to go back to that one and play it. If you got any questions, please reach out. Thank you all, and stay safe. Have a great day.